Well, hi, hello, and how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to the Newsroom. This thing we do through the week where we get together, we talk about the news, we give our views, and we try to make sense out of this crazy thing that we call life. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative. Sometimes I'm known as the beau in the chapeau. On occasion, I'm called the kid in the lid, sometimes referred to as the common man with common sense. But in this moment, I am, as always, above all else, your host. We are on Rumble. We are on Locals. We are on X, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So if you would not mind, if you do not care, I would genuinely appreciate it. Please do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel on both YouTube and Rumble. While you're at it, not only subscribe, go ahead and for tonight's live stream, please hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment of some kind. It would genuinely be appreciated. Also, hit the bell for notifications. Let's make sure that everybody is always aware when new material is coming out, be it an interview, a live stream, a video, whatever it may be. Let's just make sure you're always aware of it. That way you can be watching it. And finally, please share the link to this channel around with your friends. You might find that your friends are like, hey, I'm really looking for somebody who call it like it is, tell us what's really going on, and just give us their straight opinion. Hey, share that link. You never know. They might wind up becoming a member of Fedora Nation. All right. Let us see who is out here tonight. Let us see who is out among us. Yes, let's see. Well, Miss Gypsy's in the house. Mwah, hello, you good-looking thing, you. YOLO Yoko. Am I gonna actually show up as Ron DeSantis? I don't know, but you never quite know. Nope. But you are Ron DeSantis. Well, hello, Ron. We glad to have you in the house. As always, good to see you. Good to see you. Anybody, wherever you are out there. Doesn't matter if you're on X, doesn't matter if you're on Locals, doesn't matter if you're on YouTube or Rumble. Drop a comment. We're a fairly friendly bunch around here. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say about everything. And believe me, we will let you have your say. We always want to make it a point to give our audience the chance to weigh in on things. And you never know what's going to happen in these crazy live streams. You never quite know. We're glad to have you all here. We're glad you're able to join us tonight for a little while to share what you've got out there, what's going on out in the world. We got some topics to talk about this evening. And as always, we have some memes to get into. And some of these are leftovers from previous live streams. Now, normally what happens with me is my meme suppliers, which usually is WWG1, who unfortunately is not able to be here tonight as he is traveling. TBA, and I'm not sure where TBA is at tonight. Maybe he's tied one on and can't quite join us. You never know with him. But usually what happens is my meme suppliers give me so many memes that I cannot if I put all the memes out there that I sometimes get, it would take an hour to get through everything. Memes and YouTube shorts and stuff like that. So I kind of try and space them out a little bit for everybody's sake. So with that in mind, we've got a few leftovers, but they're kind of funny. So we'll dive right in, and then we'll get to our stories for the evening. Now, as y'all know lately, the Southern Poverty Law Center has really been taking it on the chin. There's Justice Department investigations, possible indictments are being rumored. This is an organization that's been around for years, and they are really having a struggle right now. Matter of fact, it's gotten so bad that people have taken to social media to try and, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Raise support for the SPLC, which you wouldn't think that they would need that much help. They've got their own fundraisers, but I guess by raise support, I mean, try to give a, I don't know, more positive spin to how things are going. So with that in mind, we came across, we found something, and just for your consideration or your chuckle, as the case may be, we thought we'd put this out there. So with that in mind, please check this out.
Hi, I'm Stephen McLaughlin with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Every day, hundreds of racists want to spread hate in their communities, but they are an increasingly marginalized group. Without funding, they are often unable to continue their important work.
Well, I can
the
see
work
that'd be a problem.
of being racist.
Yeah.
This is local racist Randy. Randy hates black people.
And the Indians.
But without your support, he runs the risk of not being able to be racist against anyone at all.
There just ain't no money in being racist these days. I can't even afford to get my KKK robes dry cleaned. They're all covered in barbecue sauce and just don't got no money to fix it, you know?
It's all right. No one told you to talk, Randy. With just a small donation to the Southern Poverty Law Center, people like Randy here can continue to spread their message of hate and intolerance.
With the price of lumber, I can't afford to build a cross to burn anymore. But I can with your help. For just a few dollars a day, I can afford the spray paint I need to put my message out there on places of worship.
And wouldn't that be just great for this world? Call today and we'll send you a picture of a racist in prison that can only make parole with your money.
Well, now, wait a minute. What if you're going to do that, is he at least going to be wearing jumpsuit orange? All right, let's find out.
You'll also receive this free tote bag, which also doubles as a Klansman hood. Convenient. Remember, without the Southern Poverty Law Center, racism might disappear forever. And that would be bad for the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Well, folks, I mean, look, if that doesn't make you want to donate to the SPLC, I don't know what does. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel a tear in my eyes. Oh no. Well, good evening. Hello, WV Patriot USA. Glad you're in the house with us this evening. Glad you're out there checking us out. We do greatly appreciate it. Maybe the Democrat Chinese spy will donate. Well, I mean, look, I hear the SPLC is going to take money from anybody these days. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But glad to have you out there in the audience tonight. Glad you're joining us tonight. We do appreciate it. Oh my. Where WWG1 winds up finding some of the stuff, I have no idea. That's all I'm saying. That is all I am saying. Well, we're kind of short on memes this evening, although we got a couple of them that we'll play a little bit later, so we'll just dive right into our topics. And you might have noticed on the headline to tonight's live stream that I put something out there that seems very strange, given the general history of where we are politically in this nation. And the line was, "The right hates free speech." Now you're sitting there reading that, and you might scratch your head and go, "Now, Brian, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I thought conservatives, libertarians, right-leaning people are all about the idea of free speech in the marketplace, et cetera, and so on." Well, I would generally agree with that, except I'm starting to wonder just how much some people on the right, however you want to define that, really like free speech. Now, the reason that I bring that up is this. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, who in the current Trump administration is working very hard in the counterterrorism division of some agency out there somewhere, has recently published a document known as the Counterterrorism Strategy. Okay, fair enough. I mean, as much as possible, any nation needs to try to find a way to counter terrorism. in whatever form that it may take, be it physical or what have you. I kind of get that. And part of the strategy to counter terrorism is identifying groups and individuals who may be using speech in ways that the government finds dangerous, at least leading possibly to terrorism. Well, as you might expect, as an official of the government, Gorka's going around doing interviews. Okay, no big deal. Fine, kind of expect that. But it's some of what he says that's starting to make me a little bit nervous. And now let me also give some context here. Have I ever talked to Sebastian Gorka? No. Do I know Sebastian Gorka personally? No. I know he's been around for a while, at least since the 2010s. If I've read correctly, he and his wife immigrated to the United States from Great Britain, I think somewhere around 2012. And generally, I have no problem with Gorka. His take on the Ukraine war, I disagree with. He's about as gung-ho for it as you can get. Me, I'm of the idea, no, we shouldn't even be involved in this thing in one form or another, not even giving money or arms to the Ukrainians. Because frankly, all we're doing is trying to bleed Russia. That's a whole other conversation for a whole other period. So laying all that aside, I generally don't have a problem with Gorka. He's typical in some respects. Let me back that up. Typical run-of-the-mill conservative. Okay. But it's some of these comments that he makes about this new counterterrorism strategy that kind of just go backing up here, buddy. But before I get into that, let me also say hello to somebody. Miss Pate has joined us for the evening. Good evening, my dear. Glad to have you out there with us. So Gorka's giving an interview with Alex Morrow last week. Alex Morrow of Breitbart News. And they get into a discussion of the counterterrorism strategy and what they're trying to do, et cetera, so on, that sort of thing. And I'm going to start this. I got a clip here. It runs about 6 minutes. I'm not going to play necessarily the whole thing, but I'm going to play the pertinent parts of it. So the first thing that Marlowe asks Gorka in this interview is, we see left-wing violence out there. Do you see anything on the political right in this country? Right-wing violence that would give you pause or concern, etc. Okay, well, that's a fair question. So I'm going to tee it up. And this is Alex Marlowe on his live stream talking with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. And here's how the conversation goes.
So right now, I can tell you that we need to get to the bottom of what the SPLC engendered. If you are paying alleged putative conservative extremists, then you're funding them as a left-wing organization, then what is that? Is that left-wing extremism or right-wing extremism? That is why it is imperative that what the FBI is doing, what the money trail investigations, by God bless him, Scott Besson, will lead us to, will be crucial to understanding the real threat picture in America. But right now, we are not seeing comparable trend lines to violence on the right as we see on the left. And also,
okay, now up to this point, I got no problem with where Gorka's going with this. Okay, they're talking about in the greater context of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which kind of explains in part why I played that parody for you. Okay, so up to this point, I got no problem with where Gorka's going with this. It's what happens next where I've got an issue. And that said, having teed it up, here's the rest of that answer from Gorka.
Can I get extemporaneously just kind of add a little addition here?
Oh, that's usually where you start getting in trouble. But okay, Sebastian, we'll give you the rope. Go ahead, brother.
Please.
It's up to people like you. I'm not a political analyst anymore. I'm a counterterrorism government employee. But we have to have an effective, accurate snapshot on who are part of the conservative movement today.
I can feel this train's getting ready to come off the track. He's getting ready to go off the rails here. We've got to decide who's part of the conservative movement. Okay, where you go with this, Gorka? Come on, GG. Let's find out.
Because I would say to you, I'm not sure that Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson are conservatives. If you are lauding a Sharia law, if you are saying that there are Muslim states that seem to be better qualitatively than America in terms of freedom and prosperity, I'm not sure that means you're part of the conservative movement.
Whoa. Hold up there, Sebastian. Hold on up. Okay, you dropped some names. Let's talk about this for a second. Okay. Now, for the record, I am not here to defend Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes. Okay. They both have resources and platforms and articulation enough to do all that for themselves. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Okay. And also, for the record, both of them, Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, have said things I disagree with. That's fine. No problem. Lord knows I don't expect to agree with everything either one of them say. Okay. Good evening, Professor Tie-Dye. We're glad to have you in the audience tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us this fine Thursday evening. But, so let me get this straight. They have a take on some issue that you don't agree with, and therefore they're no longer part of the conservative movement. What? Come again with that? You don't agree with them, they don't agree with you, therefore they're not conservatives. Especially if, in Gorka's mind, they're espousing Sharia law. My first question to Sebastian Gorka is, would you like to give me a concrete example of that, please? Because I know that both Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson have had their disagreements with the Trump administration on any number of issues, but to the best of my knowledge, and again, if somebody's got a clip, let's see it, but I've never heard either one of them espouse Sharia law or make the statement that quantitatively Islamic nations are better than America in terms of freedom, etc., so on. Like I say, I mean, Sebastian, you're kind of getting out on a limb here, brother. If you got proof of that, would you mind stepping up and showing us exactly what you're talking about? Because, I mean, if you're going to start, being the guy who gets to run people off the conservative reservation, no offense, brother, but you need to bring some bona fides. Let's see the bona fides, please. Where's proof? And now, here's the other thing about this. Keep in mind, and we got another clip here coming up from Gorka here in a second, but this starts getting into really dangerous territory. So now, in Gorka's mind, we need to start to be able to ask the question: okay, are you really part of my tribe if you hold this view, or this view? Lay aside the label of conservative for a second, okay? And that's why I'm trying to back it up broadly and ask the question, or just frame it as, are you part of my tribe or not? If you hold a different view than I do, are you really part of my tribe? Okay, you put whatever label on it you wish, but I think you guys get the idea where I'm going here. So I don't hold a view. Well, let's just go back to something I said a moment ago. I happen to hold a particular view about the Ukraine war, particularly the U.S.'s involvement in it. Okay, and Gorka is as gung ho for the U.S. being hip deep in that deal as we can get. Me, I am completely different. Does Gorka think that I'm not a conservative? If he knew me, if he met me, if he knew my views on that one issue, would he be able to disqualify me as being a conservative? Because if he's going to go that route, if there are people on the political right that are going to hold that view, that because of one thing we may disagree on, I'm not part of the tribe anymore, then that sort of begs the next question: can you go after my speech? You see where I'm going here? Hold on to that thought. We'll finish up this clip. So back to the rest of his answer to Alex Marlow.
So if you remove those individuals and you understand that they're not conservatives, what's left? Who are the people in the mainstream of the conservative movement, Alex, who are saying violence is okay? Hard to find people who aren't fringe figures.
So whoa. Hold on a minute. Let me just make sure I'm getting this. So you're saying if you declassify Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes from the mainstream of conservative thought, you won't have anybody really who's espousing violence on the political right. Huh? Really? What? What the what? So basically Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson are espousing political violence with the views that they hold. Wow. Holy cow. Woo. Woo boy. That's stunning and brave. All right, we got some more of this clip. Let's get into it. So then there gets into a question about Fuentes. And I figure, yeah, you know what? It's worth playing. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so this is something I don't talk a lot about Fuentes on the show because I always knew that there was something up about it. It was very obvious to me, and I just didn't know how much. It's always tough when you go to a big newsroom like Breitbart because I've got two options. I've got ignore it, knowing this thing is eventually going to go away, or direct a bunch of fire at it. And we did a couple of pieces on him over the years that have been negative, obviously. But I spent a lot of time on it because it felt very inorganic to me. Certainly the numbers that were reported around this guy, that he was commanding this huge audience, though none of us know anyone who actually cares about his show in a serious way. And now he came out just a couple of days ago and said he's a flat out Democrat. So
now let me give some context to that. Alex Marlow is stating this correctly. Nick Fuentes the other day on his live stream said that he is a middle-of-the-road Democrat. But why? Well, in his mind, or at least you can listen to Fuentes' own statement on this, Fuentes will tell you he's had enough of the Republican Party because, frankly, like many people, he feels betrayed. Okay? Really? Really? Oh man, that's just low. That is just low. Oh jeez. So that's where Nick Fuentes is. And again, Fuentes can defend himself. I'm just trying to give some context to what what is meant by Fuentes declared himself to be a Democrat. Professor Tie-Dye says over on Rumble, in my honest opinion, Gorka is more damaging to conservatives by self-appointed excommunication of others because he disagrees. Nick J. Fuentes is a young guy with occasionally good ideas, but Gorka would want me out for that take. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, look, and again, I am not trying to defend Fuentes. I mean, Fuentes has got some views on some stuff. Woo, dude, I know you're one of God's children, but we ain't about to get together on this. No. I might not agree with Fuentes on everything, and Lord knows I don't, but I'm not ready to declare that, okay, I'm not going to have anything to do with Fuentes. There are going to be moments, depending on the issue, we agree. I mean, crap, I saw a clip tonight from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and with the exception of one thing that she said in it, I agreed with her. I absolutely agreed. She was giving a statement, what it was, and I'll play it here in a little while. She was giving a statement to some reporters outside Capitol Hill talking about the difficulty in this country right now that people have, affording food, affording groceries, rent, house payments, all the, and we're seeing the economic data pile up. Okay. And I'm sitting there listening to her and she's, she said one thing that I don't agree with. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, by and large, I agree with that statement. Now, if I were to say that to some Republican friends of mine I know, oh man, they would run me off the reservation in a heartbeat. I can't believe you're sticking up for AOC. not sticking up for AOC. She just happens to be right. But because I hold that take, does that mean that someone's going to run me off the conservative reservation? Really? This is where we're going. The freedom of thought is such in this country anymore that two people who would otherwise be like-minded on most everything cannot disagree with each other. And in that one disagreement, one looks at the other and says, okay, you're out of here. I can't deal with you anymore. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Small time, welcome in. Glad to have you. Yeah, exactly. There are there are moments when AOC is a left-wing populist. Don't agree with her on much of anything, but there are moments when she absolutely nails it. I don't agree with the idea she has to solve the problem, but as far as identifying the problem, yeah, it kind of gets real good. She's kind of good at it. But anyway, that's the context on Fuentes making the statement, I'm now a Democrat. Anyway, so back to the exchange between editor-in-chief of Breitbart, Alex Marlow, and Dr. Sebastian Gorka.
It just it just confirms anything that we would have thought. But then the question is, who beefed up these bogus numbers? And that's something that maybe could be investigated.
It's and you got to ask yourself, in whose interest is it to do that? Is it those political entities who are seeing waning support for them, for their policies, for their extremism, for whatever it is, from climate alarmism to not being allowed to know what your children are being taught in school? There seems to be a cui bono question. Who benefits from amplifying or, in fact, exaggerating the threat of right-wing extremism? I think the answer to that question is clear.
A very important point, because this is a very similar principle to why I wrote Breaking the Law last year, is because I thought that the Democrats politically are not a major threat to President Trump. The lawfare.
Now, for the record, I happen to agree with Marlow, but not maybe for the same reason that he's thinking. But if we get a chance, I'll expound on that a little bit later.
Superstructure is a major threat, and that's why I took that on. Objectively, another major threat is, at a minimum, the perception that his movement, this MAGA movement, which is really, I won't say in its infancy, but it's in its adolescence, to borrow a common expression these days. It's pretty new. We're 10 years into it. It's not that new of a movement. It's not a baby movement, but hasn't been around for 100 years. We're at the Tory party. Like so we've got to make sure that we're solid. And so the left understands this. They're as strategic as we are, if not more strategic. And for them to boost people who could drive a wedge within the MAGA movement is about the best strategy they could run. And now we've got actual evidence that's what they were doing.
It's such a sad truth.
Okay, well, that's the exchange. So now we need to investigate who's boosting the numbers on people like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. Interesting. And I need to apologize to Professor Tida. I just caught this. Thank you for the Rumble rant, sir, for $5. I read your comment, but I did not realize that came with a Rumble rant, so I do apologize. So thank you very much for your generosity. Very, very generous of you indeed. But yeah, I don't like where we're going here. I really don't. This is a little bit scary to me. A little scary. Well, anyway, Gorka is appearing, I guess, on or around the same time, on another podcast called Podforce One, which is hosted by Miranda Devine of the New York Post. Fabulous reporter, by the way. Anytime you get a chance to read anything by Miranda Devine, I recommend. I shouldn't call her a reporter. I should say not communist. Geez, columnist. She's not a communist. Let me clarify that. Columnist at the New York Post. And this starts fleshing out the counterterrorism strategy a little bit more. And And then, not gonna lie, I get a little bit nervous. But before I do that, let me get caught up on some chat here. Ron DeSantis says she actually appeals to people for similar reasons, talking about AOC, for similar reasons to Trump. I agree with that. I think that's absolutely true. Professor Tie-Dye also says, I can send useful rants over rants calling Stilton. Yes, I happen to know that Professor Tie-Dye is a regular contributor in the chat of the Steel Toe Morning Show, which is hosted by Aaron Imholt out there in Minnesota. And I tell you what, talk about irreverent. Oh, Lord have mercy. If you want a mix of old school shock jock radio and internet live streaming sensibilities, then you're probably want to find your way to the Steel Toe Morning Show. Because like I say, Aaron Imholt can be all kinds of funny. He really can. And Professor Tie-Dye is one of his regulars in the chat. Small Time says, Fuentes is naive if he thinks his protest vote will somehow get him better results in 2028. It's not just an issue. And again, I'll let you guys listen to Fuentes on your own, but he's like, look, I don't think it's a protest vote in his case. He wants to find somebody that he could really support, but he just doesn't feel like he can do it with the current crop of Republicans that are out there. It's very interesting. But anyway, so Gorka goes on Pod Force One, which is the podcast hosted by Miranda Devine of the New York Post. And he gets into fleshing out what this counterterrorism strategy starts looking like. So let's take a listen to this clip. And I think you're going to start to understand why I'm starting to say the right hates free speech. But anyway, and again, I could be dead wrong. We'll get your guys' take on it. And I'll give you mine.
However, there are things within our laws that you are not allowed to say, right? The freedom of speech does not extend to inciting violence or threatening the lives of specific individuals.
Okay, I can agree with that. Go on.
That is not permissible. Beyond that, we will map. We haven't talked much about it, but if you read the counterterrorism strategy, it's a very clear document. We don't shy away from telling the world what we're going to do. We are going to map out these individuals. We are going to identify them. We're going to find this is, God bless Scott Besson, Kash Patel, yes. AG, the acting AG, Todd Blanche. The money trail. The money trail is the most important thing. You look at these from the river to the sea, bring the Intifada to the streets of America. It's so interesting. You're on the campus of Berkeley or you're on the streets of New York, and everybody has exactly the same placard, printed with the same font. That's a little bit strange. So, I can't discuss, ongoing operations, but the importance of malign foreign actors who leverage domestic fellow travelers. We lived this for 40 years during the Cold War. We will get to the bottom of all of it, whether it's the Singham network, whether it's Iran, whether it's Russia, whether it's anybody else. Our mission is to uphold the Constitution and at the same time protect Americans from violence.
Oh, now I'm getting really nervous. And let me explain why. Our mission is to uphold the Constitution and protect the American people. Okay. That's my mission too, but I'm not sure you and I, Dr. Gorka, can agree on this idea of how you want to go about doing it. You want to follow the money, which, in principle, I understand, I guess, where you're coming from. And that is, look, we've all watched this at one time or another. Okay. And what I'm getting at is this. At one time or another, we've seen all these protesters show up, supposedly as an organic protest, but all the signs look like they're printed nice and neatly. And, you got people being bussed in. Who's paying for the bussing of them in? There's a certain amount of logic to it because it just seems like these protests aren't necessarily organic. Somebody's paying for them, somebody's fueling them, which I can kind of understand where you're coming from there. Okay, let's work from the assumption that someone is paying for them and someone is orchestrating them. They're not necessarily organic, okay? Explain to me, somebody, why this gives the government the right to, I don't want to put this. Why would this give the government the right to infringe upon that freedom of speech? Oh, all they're doing is investigating. They're not stopping it. Really? What's the line between investigating speech and stopping it? It's a very thin one, my friends. Now, again, maybe I'm worrying for nothing here, but maybe line's not the right word. It's a really slippery slope. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. It's a really slippery slope to travel down once you start going on this road. Oh, we got to find out who's organizing these protests, because these people are just, I can't believe, these people on these college campuses, they're protesting the actions of the nation of Israel right now, of what they're doing in Gaza. Guess what? I might be there with them. And don't get me wrong, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm not saying that the Palestinians, that their hands are totally clean in this, but I'm most certainly assured the Israelis are definitely not clean. There are things that have been done in the Gaza war ever since October 6th of 2023 that, man, I don't know. But again, shouldn't those people have the right to protest? Why does the government feel the need to investigate it? Well, this stuff's not organic. It's being manufactured. Someone's paying for it. And what does that have to do with the First Amendment? Last time I read the First Amendment, it doesn't say that Congress can make a law, infringing upon the right to free speech, if somebody finds out that it's being paid, the speech is being paid for. I mean, if we're going to start making that argument, crap, go back to the American Revolutionary War. Do you know how many articles people like Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and other of the founding fathers and Sons of Liberty and everything else that were paid for, how many newspapers ran pro-American Revolution articles? Seriously? We don't like speech because we think somebody else is paying for it, and we got to investigate who's fronting the money? Is this where we're going? Yeah, I'm with you. Do not let. Yeah, this is just, Yeah, and this is a good point as well. Good point. It does protect many forms of grifting. We've got to investigate this speech. We got to find out who's behind all this, these protests on these college campuses. Okay, investigate all you want to. But after you investigate, is that all you're going to do? Or are you going to do something about it? Because why do I have the funny feeling? Why do I have the funny feeling it's not going to stop with an investigation? You're going to backtrack it. You're going to backtrack it to where it came from, and you're going to try and shut it down. And you'll notice right now, the examples that are being used are these anti-Israel protests on college campuses, which again, you can be pro-Israel, anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, anti-Palestinian. That's fine. But like I said, you should still have the right to say it. Gorka's thinking, and the thinking of a lot of people who would agree with him, in my mind anyway, seems to be headed to a very dangerous place where if you don't agree with him or people like him, number one, they're going to declare that you're not part of the tribe anymore. And number two, potentially they could investigate you for the type of speech that you engage in. That's getting very, very, very dangerous to me. Lana says, good evening, Ms. Lana. As much as I may disagree with the views, aren't we a capitalist society? If someone wants to pay for the protest, well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what if somebody wants to pay for the protest? Provided that they're not breaking any laws doing it, what are you going to do to stop them? Seriously? Seriously? I don't know, man. I just, where Gorka's going with this is just scaring me to death. Now, Gorka, for his part, when he heard about the backlash he's starting to get off of this, because people like, with bigger platforms than me, for example, Alex Jones was just absolutely all over this. And I would have talked about it regardless of whether Alex was talking about it or not either. But I mean, when Gorka started hearing about the backlash he started getting, he went to Twitter to try to defend himself. And this is from Sebastian Gorka's ex account. Excuse me. I said Twitter. For those of you who are watching the live stream and you're wondering what I'm doing, there's an agreement between myself and one of our regulars here, WWG1, that anytime I use the old name of X, I got to take a drink. Fortunately for me, I'm drinking water, because if I were excuse me, sorry about that. If I had anything else in that glass, I'd be in serious trouble as often as I make that mistake. But anyway, Sebastian Gorka took to X and wrote the following. I said nothing of the sort. I stated that Tucker and Fuentes should not be counted within the conservative tent, given that one says Sharia law is wonderful and the other says he's a Democrat just last week. As for the new U.S. counterterrorism strategy President Trump signed just last week, below is a screenshot listing our main threat groups. I don't see Bigfoot-obsessed podcasters or diminutive clickbait merchants, do you? Yeah, but you're missing the point, Sebastian. You're opening the door for a lot of things to be called terrorism just because it's speech that you or someone else doesn't like. Because remember this, there will come a day when people not named Donald Trump will be president. And you start laying this kind of intellectual groundwork, brother, you are opening the door for some future administration even less friendly to free speech than you are to come in, take your idea in this counterterrorism strategy, and start broadly applying it to views that most people would consider in the mainstream, but they'll be able to define it as terrorism or inciting terrorism. I mean, again, there are better constitutional lawyers out there and better articulates than I am in these matters, but man, we're headed for a really dangerous thing here. Yikes. Oh, by the way, if I can find it real fast. If I can find it, hold on. I thought for sure that I saw this. One moment, please. Pretty sure I saw this earlier, if I can find it real fast. Yep, here it is. Yeah, Tucker Carlson, having heard about Dr. Sebastian Gorka's comments to Alex Marlow, has said the following. Never one to recoil from an argument, and this is from the spectator.com, Carlson has asked Gorka for an interview. Quote, Seb, I've been watching you talk about me on the internet, and I think it might be more productive to speak to me directly, Tucker wrote yesterday in a text message to Gorka, seen by Cockburn. I'm happy to meet you anywhere for an interview, so please let me know. Thanks a lot, Tucker. I tell you what, if it goes down that Sebastian Gorka winds up going on Tucker Carlson's show for this, I will give a lot to watch that conversation, because that would be a lot of fun. So yeah, Tucker Carlson's like, hey man, come on, you want to talk about me? Let's have a conversation, brother. So let's see what happens. But yeah, there's some very dangerous thinking in what is being proposed. Very scary indeed. All right, it's 7:45. Let me do a real quick commercial for myself. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can do a commercial for somebody else. We're using Rumble Studio, and I tell you what, it's really kind of cool, the features that this this live stream has. And first of all, I want to thank everybody who's watching tonight, be it on YouTube, on X, and on Rumble. And I tell you what, if we can get a certain number of folks on Rumble, man, I can start doing some ad reads over here, which would be very kind of cool. But anyway, let me do an ad read for myself. If you have happened upon this live stream, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and this is the Newsroom. Sometimes through the week, we get together on nights like this, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we get together, we talk about the news, we get to give our views, the host and the audience, and we try and make sense out of this crazy thing that we call life. If this is your cup of tea, or your brand of vodka, or your kind of whiskey, well, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and Rumble, and while you're at it, hit the bell for notifications. Let's make sure you're always aware when new stuff is coming out. And also, for purposes of this evening, please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, be it on Rumble or on YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated, because believe it or not, that does a lot to put this little live stream out there for people to check it out. So help us be a going big concern. Right now, we are a going little concern. We'd like to be a going big concern, if at all possible. Okay, let us move to a different topic. And this is another one that probably when you read the headline to the live stream, you're like, why did you put this out there? Okay. If you were watching TV last night, particularly if you happened to watch Fox News, you might have seen this thing go absolutely wild last night. And I've got a clip here. It's about 2 minutes, 45 seconds. This ran on Fox News last night. And when this broke, man, everybody was just burning up the internet, burning up the airwaves, burning up Twitter. Burning up X, talking about this story. So with that, check this out.
Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MK Ultra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in.
Just as a side note, would she not make a gorgeous looking vice president? Just saying. Think about it, JD. You run, she's the Veep. Forget Rubio. Just saying.
In the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is, A, there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Okay, remember that clip. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. So, all right, this goes on for another couple of minutes, and you know what? I'll play it out. So here we go.
Can the CIA overrule the president? No, the CIA cannot overrule the president. The CIA cannot even overrule the director of national intelligence. In 1975, the Church Committee, which became the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, specifically ordered DCI William Colby to release all of the MK Ultra files. He famously went back to CIA headquarters and ordered that all of the files be destroyed. 85% of them were destroyed. He was held in contempt of Congress, and then CIA employees lined the halls and contributed cash to pay for the fine that he was ordered to pay. We only know what we know about MK Ultra because of the 15% of the files that weren't destroyed. These are among those 15% of the files.
Oh, my word. You mean the CIA went into their boss's office and just took these files out will-nil? Oh, my God. Look, when I heard this, when I first heard about this last night, I was on the phone with the lady, and Colonel Douglas McGregor reposted something on X about the CIA raiding Tulsi Gabbard's office, and I went, holy bleep. The lady went, what is the matter? So I read McGregor's retweet, and I said that's troubling on so many grounds, because the CIA is not supposed to be doing anything domestically. They're supposed to be international. So what the heck is the CIA doing a black op on U.S. soil? So everybody just went, everybody when this thing broke loose is like, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't believe the CIA did this. How could they possibly go into the director of Office of National Intelligence and just start taking out files for no good reason, yada, yada, yada. They're reclaiming MK Ultra files, which John Karaku refers to here. And everybody was just all bent out of shape. This is one of those moments, ladies and gentlemen, when you've heard about the Bongino rule. Well, it didn't even take 48 hours for all this to get itself straightened out, because it turns out it most certainly didn't happen the way it was portrayed. And I'll explain what I mean by portrayed here in a second. I got a story here from Just the News, written by Misty Severi. Headline: DNI denies reports the CIA raided Tulsi Gabbard's office to seize documents related to JFK and MK Ultra. Luna clarified that the incident did not occur on Wednesday and that the ODNI has jurisdiction over the seized documents. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence denied reports Wednesday night that the CIA, quote, raided National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard's office and seized documents related to MK Ultra and the JFK assassination. Fox News reported the alleged raid, which came from Florida GOP Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, who heads the Special House Oversight Task Force related to declassifying government secrets. The alleged raid comes after Luna said she would be holding a hearing on the CIA's former project MK Ultra, which conducted experiments and studied the potential use of LSD and other drugs for mind control and information gathering purposes. Quote, "This is false. The CIA did not raid the DNI's office." DNI spokeswoman Olivia Coleman said on X in a rare rebuke of Fox News. Luna clarified that the incident did not occur on Wednesday, was not a raid, and the ODNI has jurisdiction over the seized documents. Quote, clarification: took documents that ODNI has jurisdiction over. Also, this did not happen today and was not a raid. However, it did take place, and we are just being made aware of it based on reporting. It was not immediately clear what the operation could be classified as, but a U.S. intelligence official confirmed to Just the News that the incident was not a raid. Oh man, Fox News stepped in it. Big time. Now, remember the clip that Fox News played? They played part of it, which, okay, we play part of clips here as well. If they had put the whole thing out in context, it would make a whole lot more sense. What am I getting at? Okay, here is the clip from News Nation that started all this. But as opposed to like a 20-second clip, this is the whole thing. So to put it all in context, here's Representative Anna Paulina Luna, and here's what she actually said.
Before we get to the CIA whistleblower about the COVID-19 pandemic and Dr. Anthony Fauci's role in the cover-up, you also have some news coming out of the CIA that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so we were actually just notified that the CIA went in and took documents out of ODNI, multiple boxes pertaining to the JFK files as well as MK Ultra. The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MK Ultra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed. And so very troubling. I did just talk to Chairman Comer, and we are sending in the next hour or so a preservation of documents request to the CIA. I have calls into the White House to the director of the CIA himself. And so obviously, as this develops, we'll keep everyone up to date. But strange times we're living in, that's for sure.
Does the CIA have jurisdiction to go into Gabbard's office like that and take documentation?
Well, the CIA does not have jurisdiction to work against an executive order by the president. And so the fact that someone did this when the president is out of country, from what I gather, I believe that Director Radcliffe is with him. And so this seems like it was an internal coup, to be honest.
Okay, that's more. Yeah, this is one of those moments when Fox News is going to have some serious egg on their face. Now, again, maybe it amounts to nothing, but it's like, guys, I mean, I'm speaking to Fox News particularly. Everything right now is hyper partisan enough, and you don't need to contribute to the bad mood of the country by putting out something like this. I mean, I get it. You're trying to get ratings, but seriously, guys, come on, do better. So no, there was not a raid on Tulsi Gabbard's office the other night. Matter of fact, we got another perspective on this. This is Neil McCabe from Real America's Voice. He was on Steve Bannon's show earlier today and found the following. Check this out.
So the idea that, some CIA team, paramilitaries in full battle rattle, guns drawn, raided Tulsi Gabbard's office or facilities, that did not happen. But what did happen is that there were materials held at the office of the Director of National Intelligence. They were set aside. It's my understanding that they were waiting for the declassification team to get to them. And there were CIA personnel who had the access codes for that storage facility, and they went ahead and took those documents back from the office of the national director, from Tulsi Gabbard, and then took it back. And so now, obviously that's a big deal because the CIA works for Gabbard, but it wasn't a raid, but it's very significant that they would just go ahead and take stuff back. So.
Now I will agree with that part of it. It does seem a little bit strange. If all we're doing is just declassifying, why do you guys need to get them back? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this is something, maybe it's not. Who knows? All right. As you know, different topic. As you know, President Trump is currently over in China, having some conversations with Chairman Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. They're talking about various things. And one of the subjects, believe it or not, we did get some reporting. One of the subjects that came up is former President Joe Biden. And Xi Jinping passed along that Biden made a very strange offer to his government during his time in the presidency. A very strange offer. Well, maybe not even calling it an offer. It was more like the conclusion of a quid pro quo, which actually, when Trump and his people heard about this, they were rather shocked. Basically, the reporting goes a little something like this. Biden thought he was, I guess, buying Viagra from the Chinese because, in his mind, he heard, you give us money, we fix the erection for you. I don't know. So like I say, the conclusion of a quid pro quo, which wasn't quite the quid pro quo that Biden thought it was. Very strange indeed. Very strange. And, as they're hanging out over there in China, the president, the Secretary of State, and even American business leaders went on this trip. Tim Cook from Apple is on this trip to China. Elon Musk of Tesla is currently accompanying the president. A lot of ceremonial things have happened. There was a state dinner, as you might expect. There was a visit to the Forbidden City, which I think a couple of different presidents have had the pleasure of being given a tour of that. There was also a sit down for tea, and we actually managed to get some pictures of that. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but we got a picture here. We'll show it to you here in a second of Xi Jinping, Trump, Elon Musk, and Tim Cook enjoying some time together during tea. And here's the picture.
这个夜市真热闹，大家一起吃得很开心. It's great,
Yeah,
the best
look at
night market. The food is amazing. Cheers to that.
Okay, Trump's real happy with the food. Elon looks like he's looking for a light, and Tim Cook looks like he's enjoying an adult beverage. I tell you what, apparently Xi Jinping really knows how to throw a good time, man. A really good time. So there you go. Now, that said, there are some very serious things that are being discussed while all this is going on. And both Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, sat down for some interviews. And one of the great questions going into this summit was, what kind of, is deal the right word I'm looking for? What kind of help was Trump looking for from the Chinese? And if you're wondering what I'm referring to, China gets a significant amount of its crude oil from the Persian Gulf, which means while this blockade is in place and while the Iranians have shut down the Strait of Hormuz, that means the Chinese, in theory, maybe not so much in practice, but in theory, are having a lot of their oil supply choked off. So the question on everybody's mind was, well, can some kind of accommodation be struck between Trump and the Chinese as far as getting the Chinese to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz? Well, that question came up in an interview that Sean Hannity of Fox News had with Donald Trump. And I will play you part of that. Here is Donald Trump on that very question.
President Xi would like to see a deal, man. He would like to see a deal, man. And he did offer. He said, if I can be of any help at all, I would like to be of help. Because,
he did say that.
Yeah, he did say that. And look, anybody that buys that much oil has obviously got some kind of a relationship with him. But he said, I would love to be of help. If I can be of any help whatsoever, he'd like to see the Hormuz Strait open. He said, if I could be of any help whatsoever, I would like to help.
Well, okay. But what's the price? Oh, come on, Brian. You're being cynical. Oh, no, I'm not. Look, let me just give you my take on this for what it's worth, and you guys chime in. I'd like to hear this. The Strait of Hormuz is closed because of Donald Trump's actions. Okay? Forget the Israelis. You guys know my criticisms of Benjamin Netanyahu at this moment. But we're here right now because of a mess that Donald Trump made. And yeah, China, to a certain degree, is being hurt by the fact that they can't get the regular amount of oil out of the Persian Gulf that they would otherwise buy from the Iranians. But if the Chinese are going to help us get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, that begs the question, what is the price that they're going to extract from us to get that help? if I were in China's shoes, I'd be asking for something. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do it. So yeah, Xi Jinping says he'll do anything he can to help. Okay. Just, if you're going to take his help, Mr. Trump, be very careful. That's all I'm saying. All right. Marco Rubio is also giving some comments about what's going on. And he did an interview with NBC News, the anchor there. And let me see if I can pop this baby up on the screen. Yeah, I think I can. So the anchor for NBC News is interviewing Marco Rubio, and Marco Rubio had the following to say.
What exactly did President Trump ask President Xi for when it comes to Iran?
He didn't ask him for anything. I mean, we're not asking for China's help. We don't need their help.
But he raises the issue.
We raise the issue to make clear what our position is and to make it clear so they understand, because I mean, it's logical we would talk about it given how dominant that issue is. Our position is very clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And that's what they were, they were on the verge of building a conventional capability where they had so many rockets, so many drones that you couldn't do anything against.
I can't do this. I cannot do this. I'm sorry. If that's the case, Mr. Secretary, why is it that the intelligence community of the United States is saying and has consistently said and has said from the start of this thing, the Iranians were in no position to be able to get their hands on a nuclear weapon? I mean, yeah, have they got ballistic missiles? Sure. And could they figure it out? Probably, but apparently our intelligence community, not the British, not the Mossad, our intelligence community was of the conclusion, no, they're no threat to us. So I don't know where you're getting this whole, they were right on the edge of getting a bomb. Really? They've been right on the edge of getting a bomb for 25 years, if you ask Benjamin Netanyahu. What are we going to do? Parrot his line? Is that what we're doing here? Anyway, back to the rest of this clip. Just moments like this make my blood boil.
Against them. They would hide behind that conventional shield to do whatever they wanted with their nuclear program in the future. That's why the president chose to act. In response to that, Iran has decided that they're going to take an international waterway and turn it into theirs.
Because of what you guys did.
And charge tolls for it. We're not going to allow that to happen, and that's why there's a blockade. It's a direct result of what they've done.
I got to get off that clip before I start losing my temper. Oh boy. Anyway. Yeah, so that's where we're at with China. We're asking for their help, and we're still repeating the idea, yep, they're right on the edge of getting a nuclear weapon. And I'm not going to sit here and go over everything that's been talked about, evidence to the contrary. But man, it is amazing to me. We're now reaching out, well, let me rephrase that. The Chinese are volunteering their help. Supposedly, we're not asking for it. And the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy out there. Kind of crazy. And by the way, speaking of the Persian Gulf, there was an interview that Mario Nawfal, which by the way, Mario Nawfal is on X, Nawfal. If you're not following him for updates on what's going on in the Persian Gulf, I really recommend him to you. He doesn't say he always gets it right, but his information's pretty good. So Mario Nawfal was doing an interview with retired Colonel Larry Wilkerson, talking about the current state of things in the Gulf. And the Israelis in the past 24 to 48 hours have lifted their alert level inside the country to its highest level, which is starting to make people wonder, are we getting ready to resume hostilities? Well, here is Colonel Wilkerson's take on the whole thing. interviewed by Mario Nafal. I'll play part of this for you.
Report just came in from Channel 12. Not sure if you agree with it, but that's Channel 12, so we take it with a grain of salt. According to Israeli Channel 12 source, Israel has raised its alert status to its highest level in anticipation of a potential resumption of the war with Iran following Trump's return from China. The Israeli military is reported to be preparing both offensively and defensively for the possibility of immediate renewed hostilities with Iran.
That doesn't surprise me because I've said all along I was hoping I was wrong, very much hoping I was wrong, that what we're really doing is posing another negotiation ceasefire deal while we plan and get ready to massively attack Iran again in conjunction with Israel. I'm watching what's happening in Lebanon to see what kind of diversion of forces from Lebanon is done in order to do that. And recently I've seen some planes held down and some planes not flying strikes in Lebanon. And I think that's because of what you just said. I think we are going to attack Iran full out. And this will be it. This will be it, and it won't accomplish anything, I don't think, except kill a lot of innocent people on the ground. But I think we're out of ammunition at the point that we go 10 or 11 days. And this won't be carrier air power to the greatest extent people were expecting, I don't think. That's not really very effective, and it's very costly in terms of tanking because you're so far away now and you don't dare come any closer. It'll be every asset the United States has in its Air Force from all over the world, reserve components, active components. It'll be B-52s, it'll be B-1s, it'll be B-2s, it'll be everything we can throw at Iran.
So you're saying it will be more than what we've seen so far?
I think so. And I think it'll be more indiscriminate too. We're really worried that the New York Times reports, for example, and others too, like Reuters and others that are fairly dependable, that Iran really still has 60 to 75% of its ballistic missiles already ready to go.
There's even another report, Colonel, saying 90% of their missile facilities are not destroyed, only 10% destroyed, according to the New York Times latest report.
I think that's probably true with regard to the facilities, and by that I mean simply the ability to launch these missiles. Here's the thing that frightens me, and yet I think I'm being a realist here in saying this. I just turned down an offer this morning to go to the former DNI complex to get them to come back out and publicly affirm their decision back in, what was it, 2009 or so, as I recall, in the intelligence estimate, that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon. And I said, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't think they believe that anymore, those of them who are smart enough to keep up with things. What they believe is that Iran, as Ted Postol has said very dramatically, is probably building a weapon underground. And sooner or later, probably sooner more than later, they're going to announce or they're going to demonstrate, God forbid, that they have such a weapon. And then it's going to be checkmate with Israel. And my question is, what will Israel do? Because if Israel's hit with 5 or 6 nuclear weapons, particularly on the missiles that Iran has, and it launches, say, 45 or 50 of its missiles at Iran is going to ride it out and Israel's going to disappear. So this is not a positive development for Israel. It's not a positive development for the region. And I don't think ultimately it's a positive development for Iran because what we might do in the aftermath of this. But I can understand why they would do it.
So that's Colonel Larry Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to General Colin Powell. And folks, I really hope he's wrong. We'll see what happens. Anyway, tell you what, it's about 8:15 on a Thursday night. Let's go ahead and bring this thing to a conclusion. Thank you guys for stopping by the newsroom. And like I said, just wanted to share some things I'd found and get your guys' take on them. I will be traveling this weekend, so no front porch brunch this Saturday morning, but we'll be back sometime next week. So again, no front porch brunch this Saturday morning as I'm doing some traveling. And we'll try and get together sometime next week. In the meanwhile, you guys stay safe, love each other. Don't forget to tell everybody tell somebody that you love them, and check in on your friends and neighbors. Let's kind of hang tight and hang together above all else. Anyway, Thank you guys much for being here this evening. I love you guys, each and every one of you. And I will catch up with you sometime next week. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." I love you guys very much. Thank you for being here. You guys have a great night. Bye-bye.